Off-road adventure is not necessarily my cup of tea, but when you want to do it, you want to have the right vehicle. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, we've been behind the wheel of a lot of vehicles, but nothing really that harnesses that off-road power. Some of them look really pretty on the outside, but not all of them are a workhorse like this. The list of 3-row SUVs that can tackle the great outdoors and still handle everyday driving with equal dexterity is indeed short. The Toyota 4Runner is one of the first vehicles on the list that remains a key player. Now, fresh off the restyle for 2014 that bolstered its rugged good looks, the 4Runner heads into 2015 offering a new TRD Pro Edition engineered and equipped for even greater off-pavement capability. Now in its 5th generation, the Toyota 4Runner has for 3 decades been a stalwart for SUV drivers seeking rugged, go-anywhere capability. While 4Runner has continued development in balancing off-road capability and on-road handling and ride quality, it has also steadily evolved in the area of comfort and convenience. The 4Runner sticks to a proven formula: rugged body on-frame construction with 4-link rear axle, coil spring suspension, and a choice of 2-wheel drive, part-time 4-wheel drive, or the full-time multi-mode 4-wheel drive with the 2-speed transfer case and locking center differential. So what does the rugged body on-frame construction mean? Well, it's kind of rough behind the wheel, and really the 4Runner doesn't make any apologies because this is the premise of this vehicle, to go off-road. Now, over the years, it really has evolved from that utilitarian part of it, keeps the sport, but really adds a little bit more premium over the last several decades. One thing the 4Runner really does well is kind of take that mid-size segment and add those 3 rows. Now, this particular model only came with the 2 because the 3rd row is an option after all. Now, when you look at the numbers, what I like to do is compare it to one vehicle we've tested quite often, and that is the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and a vehicle that really has that off-road ruggedness that you look for in the 4Runner. So let's take a quick look at the comparisons from that vehicle's numbers and this one. One thing I've always asked for in the Jeep Grand Cherokee is just that 3rd row, and true Jeep lovers say, well, that's not that vehicle. If you want that, go to a Durango. But what you see here on the 4Runner is just that, the combination of being able to either do 5 people on the inside or that optional 7, and both vehicles really measuring about the same, with the Jeep measuring about 189 overall, this one about an inch and a half bigger. Now, what all that means is, why can't we throw a 3rd row in the Jeep just the same as this one? Now, when you look at the wheelbase numbers, the Jeep does stretch out a little bit more at about 115 inches, with this one somewhere around just under 110. When you talk about off-road worthiness, one key feature has to be ground clearance, and in comparison to the Jeep Grand Cherokee, again, a vehicle that kind of touts going off the road, well, that's going to be around about 8.6 inches. That compared to a 4-wheel drive version like we have here, that's easily going to be another inch on top of that. Now, another feature has to be the tires. A lot of vehicles go with those premium look, low profiles, and a lot of chrome. What I like is the old straight, all tread, all weather type tires. That's what you're going to find here, the standard being 17-inch wheels. This one coming with Performance 265/70 radial. One thing you look for on any vehicle when it's real rugged, well, it's not really soft around the edges, but that's far from the case here. Obviously seeing a lot of body color all the way around. And one thing I noticed is that even though this is off-road, we still take body color right down to the wheels. Now, as you sweep around, one thing we didn't notice with the overall height, wouldn't have been bad to get the optional step rails, really helping a little bit on the ingress. Now, overall, the chrome on this vehicle is really minimal. Black inserts all the way around, body color even right down to the mirrors. So let's take a look at the front, see what it has to offer. One interesting part of this vehicle has to be the front end and these special headlights. Now, they kind of protrude off the body, add a little bit more dimension to the front end, and heck, the whole front kind of looks like it's nosing its way through traffic. And again, that body color wraps around here, got the good old hood scoop, and just a little bit of kind of gray accent matched with the black inserts. But overall, again, it's called Grille Warfare. This vehicle ready for the off-road. Now, the cargo area is one of the key features on any vehicle, and again, this is mid-size, so it should offer decent area right here. Now, before we get inside, Again, the body color wrapping around here, always looking at a decent spoiler back here and giving a little bit of sport and just a little bit of black inserts. Again, that nice kind of brushed chrome look from the front end. Now, one thing that's not optional here is towing, because you've got the trailer hitch with the harness hookup all built in. Now, one thing that's a little bit anemic has to be the tow capacity, because after all, this is only coming with the V6 engine. Now, what that equates to is about 4,700 pounds of towing compared to the Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is going to be upwards of about 6,500. Just because the front headlights have pizzazz, they obviously add it to the rear end just the same. Now, one thing to think about back here is backup safety. We do have the backup camera, no sensors, but that kind of gave us a decent view, so I kind of overlooked that little part. Now, back behind the cargo area, this is really where most vehicles shine when it comes to SUVs. Now, one thing we would have liked is a power rear hatch, which is an option, but we didn't have it here. But once you raise this rear gate out of the way, what you're going to find is a vast amount of area, around about 47 cubic feet of space. Now, compared to the Jeep Grand Cherokee, that's about 10 more cubic feet of space and give you a lot more room. Now, one optional feature I loved on this particular model had to be this rear deck slide. Now, all you gotta do is unlock it right here and simply slide this to you. Now, it's gonna really make getting items out of this cargo area a lot easier. Set them here, slide them out, and when you're done, tuck it back into space. Now, if you need to add more cargo, simply fold down those rear seats. That's going to about double the space to around about 89 cubic feet. Now, if you do go with the optional third row, that is when cargo gets maybe a little bit anemic, around about 9 cubic feet behind that third row. But when you're not hauling people, simply fold that flat and easy to gain that space back. With no optional third row on this one, what that means is you got a lot of options for tailgating or really at the campsite. And one nice feature had to be the full power outlet right here with the optional car adapter beside it. Now, this allows this vehicle to really kind of be a power option out in the middle of nowhere. Once you do get to the tailgate area or the campsite, you're going to want to take a load off, and you can do it right here, kind of this extended bumper area. Now, it is kind of covered up in a black protection and really makes for a nice seating position. Now, one area I want to talk about really has to be in the lift gate. Now, a lot of vehicles in the old days had a pop-up glass, or maybe even now don't even have that option. But what I like here on the 4Runner is the ability to lower it down. Now, if you're back here, put the key in, turn it to the left, and it's going to power down out of the way. Now, this comes in lots of advantages, basically putting the animals back here, let them stick their heads out, putting long 2x4s or whatever, and really allows that cargo to extend out, or at the bare minimum, let it breeze in. Now, while some of the competition come with big power plants under the hood, well, Toyota keeps it somewhat middle of the road here, more specifically with the 6-cylinder. Now, this is a 4.0 and delivers decent horsepower, around about 270 and 270 foot-pounds of torque. Now, what does that mean at the end of the day? Well, you get a decent power plant with maybe just a little bit of roar. Climbing inside the Toyota really is where you start to remember this is kind of truckish, and it has to do with kind of all the gear around you, all the apparatus for off-roading, the four-wheel drive differential, and really just the fact that this feels like a truck. Now, that contrasts kind of that premium quality we get from the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and a lot of those followers swear by it, but what I feel on this one is its prowess. If you're like me and pretty much stick to the beaten path, well, this area may seem a little bit foreign. Now, this is all the off-road selection, and really a lot of vehicles are kind of simplifying this with some turn knob lower on the dash, but again, with the ruggedness of this vehicle, they kind of keep it old school. One thing you're going to notice on the dash is it kind of looks like a starter kit for a Transformer vehicle, because there's a lot of chiseled lines and a lot of stuff going on. Now, up front is very basic, simple information, giving you some fuel range and some other cardinal directions with the outside temperature, nice huge vents across the middle, and typical kind of touchscreen system right across the middle as well. Now, what I like is we saw this on the Camry, so you're seeing it across the family lines, huge knobs here on the 4Runner with ease of operation here in the touchscreen system. Being inside a 4Runner, I expect nothing different than right here, having huge oversized knobs, of course, to control the climate. Now, you got the fan speeder here on the left, the temperature control on the right, and a nice mode selection in the middle. Overall simple and rugged. Now the engine comes coupled with a 5-speed automatic transmission, the old standard knob right between the front seats, and the good old 4-wheel drive selector here as well with either low or high 4-wheel drive. Now between, of course, you got cup holders, one kind of positioned here for the passenger and one way up front for the driver, and some nice other little niches. Now you do have premium heated seats here as well, really dialing in your kind of heating comfort, and that rear window control we talked about. Behind the steering wheel, again, pretty much straightforward, good old oversized tachometer, huge speedometer, a few gauges, and that central kind of information cluster. Now it does give you that kind of digital readout for the speed, which I'm a big fan of, and some other information as you go down the road. Now to control all that, of course, you're going to find it here on the steering wheel, and you've got all the other functions just the same for driving down the road. Now again, with that 9.6 inches of ground clearance without the step rail, what's going to be kind of a heave to get inside. Now one thing you think about when you get in the back row is really the legroom numbers. Now up front, going to be around about 42 inches of legroom. Back here, kind of anemic on paper, about 33, but what I really noticed is with that 42, the seating is going to be positioned here forward, and you're going to average maybe closer to about 35 to 36, because really with my 6-foot frame, I noticed plenty of knee space. Now one thing I did notice is with kind of this design they have in here, headroom is a hair minimum here. There is kind of a void that if you position just right, you will notice a little bit more cathedral-like feel above you. Now, even though this particular model didn't come with that optional third row, well, looking at legroom numbers back there, around about 29.3, on par for what you expect. Now, as for rear comfort overall, you do have this kind of fold down elbow support. Again, I like to see it raised like it is on some vehicles, giving you higher support, a little bit more comfort down the road. Now, one thing you want to talk about is connectivity for backseat passengers. Now, we didn't find USB, but what we did find is 2 power outlets. Now we always talk about cargo area, really transforming that back here into the second row, and a lot of vehicles are making it fairly easy with either one pull handle and it tumbles forward. Now this one's kind of more of a 2 or 3 step system. Simply pulling the bottom cushion here, going to tumble forward. Now we do have this headrest. A lot of vehicles have to pull that out, make room for it, but actually here they got a release knob, allows it to tumble forward with ease. Now the last step, press it here and it's going to fold flat. Now this is kind of a split design, really allowing you to sit people and cargo, or really transform the whole area. Now it does for this edition of Road Warrior, and a test drive behind the wheel, the 2015 Toyota 4Runner. Again, continuing where it left off from last year and in its 5th generation. Now things we loved, of course, is it holds true to its roots, that off-road ruggedness, which you kind of translate behind the wheel with a little bit of bump and not smoothing out the rough edges. We wouldn't mind a little bit more horsepower on the hood, because that does affect the towing capacity, but what we do love is, of course, the ability to either go 5-passenger or the optional 7. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.